Good morning. My name is Teresa Doherty. I am the coordinator for business and information technology programs here with Virginia Beach City Public Schools. And it is my pleasure to take you through the accounting curriculum. This recording is taking place in August of 2020. So what we're going to share is a little bit about what the accounting curriculum and support entails from a central support point of view. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the virtual learning that's taking place specifically in today's educational realm and how that's going to impact some of the pacing that will take place this year. So what we're going to go through is our Schoology group. So what I want to do right now is share my screen with you. Hang on just a moment here. Let's go to, okay. So what you should be looking at, hopefully, is the Schoology group for accounting. And this is kind of where everything is housed. It's especially right now where a lot of the collaboration will be taking place, especially because we can't get together face to face. So you'll notice here on the left-hand side, there are a lot of different options. And at this point, if you've been with VBCPS for any length of time, you should be relatively familiar with how to operate our learning management system, which is Schoology. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but I do want to, at a minimum, kind of explain what's going on with this course. So the accounting course actually uses a college accounting textbook, and it's the introductory or the first year course for accounting. So if you look down here, it kind of gives you a brief overview, but the students are essentially covering basic principles of accounting. They're learning some of those basic concepts, generally accepted accounting principles. And we do make use of different software applications that are electronic to kind of help give students an idea of what they would expect in the real world, since that's pretty much what's going on out there right now. Now, since late last year, we began to introduce QuickBooks and the QuickBooks Certified User certification. And that's something that we're going to focus on actually at both the accounting and the advanced accounting levels this year. So while that certification will eventually only be open to the accounting students, because the advanced accounting students weren't given an opportunity to do that last year, we're going to go ahead and offer that in the 2020-2021 school year. We're going to offer that to both. The advanced accounting students are also still welcome to do the NOCD, but the QuickBooks Certified User is what we're going to stick with or work toward for the accounting students. So anyway, like I said, if you take a look over here, it just kind of gives you a little bit of information about what the accounting courses, what this accounting course is about. Where you're going to spend most of your time is right down here in this resources tab. So if you click here on the left, I'll give you a brief rundown. At the very top, you're going to see a training and updates folder. When this recording is completed, that's where this will live. So you can go back to it anytime you want to. If you find that you have a new teacher who maybe comes in mid-year and they need a way to get up and running pretty quickly, this would be a way to share with them how to navigate things and what to expect for the course. So any updates that we do as well will kind of go in there. And the idea is it would house from year to year all of the annual trainings, and then any of those updating trainings for anything that we've got going on. I will wrap up with this second one, the second folder down here, the virtual learning support. That's going to have the majority of what we're going to talk about today. I just kind of wanted to slide through some of these other items just so you kind of know what they are. So the front matter is something that you'll see in every single one of our courses. And for the most part, it's pretty consistently, it has the same information across the board. You may have noticed that it said 2018, 2019 on there. And that's because that's when the planning guide was originally put up. So that hasn't changed since then. There are some active links in here. So if you're looking for some of those things like our overall mission statement, or what's the framework for teaching and learning, or how does all of this work, this is kind of where you're gonna find those things. The nice part too is there are some resources that are tucked right in here, like that TCE literacy school box or toolbox, excuse me, and the creative strategies for CTE teachers. So there's some pretty neat things. I would definitely encourage you, if you haven't looked through this in one of your other classes, to go ahead and take a peek at it. It's not a terribly long document, but it's long enough. So I would say when you have a few minutes to just kind of roll through it and see what's in there. We do have a sample of what the units typically look like. So you'll see that, and that'll vary from framework to framework, of course. So since this one's for accounting, that's what it has in there for the accounting. But lots of really good information. If you are a seasoned teacher, this may be a little bit of review for you, although I have to say it's always nice to have a bit of a refresher. If you are a brand new teacher, this is a really great reinforcement of some of the things that you have been learning about what makes teaching great, what makes great teaching. So anyway, I'm gonna scoot out of this and we're gonna move forward with some of the other things, but I did want to at least share that with you. So moving down here is the resources folder, and this is typically where you would go for everything that you need for the accounting class. So this would be where the unit plans are housed, where there are suggestions for different resources based on the unit that you're in, and it just kind of gives you a little more focus of where you're going to be at in terms of textbooks and resources and things like that. Of course, with the 2020 school year, a lot of that has changed. We've shifted over to a 4x4 pacing, and that is not the pacing that you're going to see in here. So what I would suggest is, and I do have an updated pacing guide that I'll share with you shortly, but what I would suggest is to kind of take a look at that pacing guide, and then you can always come back in here and pull what you need, kind of organize it the way that you would like to organize it. So I didn't want to change everything up to a 4x4 in this set of resources because I don't know that that's something that will be a permanent change. It's just a temporary change for now. So I went ahead and left everything as is so that you can still find stuff. It is where it's supposed to be. I will tell you that there were some changes at the state level with the competency numbering. So when you go in here, some of the numbers might be a little bit off, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. So speaking of VDOE, the competency logs are typically housed here, and I always use a link out to the CTE resource website. That way you always have the most updated. Usually VDOE updates their pacing guides or their curriculum every few years. It just depends on the course and which one is due for an update. So this way, like this year, there were some updates that came across the board for everybody because they shifted the way that they were doing the curriculum with workplace readiness. And this ensures that the student competency record that you're keeping for your students has the most accurate information. I will tell you that CT resource website crashed earlier in 2020, and it is not yet up. They essentially have, they're having to rebuild the entire website. In fact, I think they're rebuilding a brand new website, and that is not up as of yet. And this is August of 2020. So what they've done in the meantime is provide links to PDF documents. So that's what you're going to see when we get over into the virtual part. So if you came in here and tried to click on this student competency record right now, I don't know that it would take you anywhere other than an error message that tells you that the website is down. So I do have the updated website for you. All of that will be in that virtual learning support folder. Okay, the workplace readiness skills are something that runs across the board in every CTE course. Those of you who've been teaching this for a while are relatively familiar with that. So this just kind of gives you a few resources, some information that might be helpful. One of the big changes that VDOE made to our competencies this year is that they removed all of those workplace readiness skills from the top of all of our courses. So it used to be those the first few competencies in every single course were exactly the same. They were all the workplace readiness skills. What they've done is they've removed that. So the competencies now begin with the content competencies rather than those workplace readiness skills competencies for each course. So, so that's got to be updated. FBLA, if you're not familiar with student organizations in CTE, FBLA is Future Business Leaders of America. That is the designated student organization for business and information technology classes. Something that I always like to clarify, especially for our new folks, is that FBLA is not a club per se. It's not an extracurricular activity, meaning something that you would do outside of class or outside of school. The unique part about the student organizations that we have in CTE is that they are considered co-curricular. That means they are incorporated into the curriculum. They are a part of what you're doing every day. The things that you are teaching your students align directly with the competitions and the things that Future Business Leaders of America are all about. So that's something that you want to make sure that you're encouraging in your students. Each school has a chapter or should have a chapter. So you just need to check with your other business teachers, the counterparts at your school, to find out who is the advisor for the FBLA chapter. If there is not one, maybe that person has retired or they've shifted schools, you can be designated as the advisor for the chapter, and we can, for your school, and we can help get you started with that. But and typically there is a stipend that is attached to that as well. So you would want to talk to your site administrator, probably your assistant principal, your AP over your department, to figure out how to navigate that. But just know that that FBLA is something that it's important. Just like you have your professional development, you have a way to continue learning and growing as an educator. This FBLA group is the way that your students, your business students, are able to do the exact same thing. So this is them learning that, kind of taking a step into that lifelong learning. So this folder just has some information about how all of this works. Like I said, we're more than happy to get you started. I can put you in contact with some other folks who are doing this beautifully within the district, and then also I can get you put together with our regional and state folks who will be glad to get you organized. So that's that. All right, moving down here, one of the last things that I want to share with you is the strategies. I'm not going to worry too much about the sandbox out here. This is just a place for us to like try different things, but right now it's not something that we're going to use, especially this year in 2020. So I'm not going to say don't worry about that. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Instead, I want to go into this strategies. Now in here, I usually have things separated into content resources and pedagogy resources. So the pedagogy resources have a ton of different materials that you can go searching through that have already been vetted for you. They've been curated here in this website or in this folder, and they're giving you some places to start or suggestions for reading or things that might be helpful for you as you are growing as an educator and things that you want to do in your classroom. So it is not intended to be a read through start to finish, let's do everything that's in here. It truly is intended almost like a reference to go into when you are looking for some help. So you'll see some of the things I have in here, like good essential questions. If you're struggling to write essential questions, or you're not really sure what should be contained in one that would be considered good, that might be a place to start. There are links to the stockpiles that we have for social emotional learning and culturally responsive practices for the City of Virginia Beach Public Schools. I will say anything that is linked like that, that's internal material, you're going to need to make sure that you're logged in as on your school account. So a lot of times you may have your own Google account and then you have your school Google account. You just need to make sure if you're working outside of the school building, which this year is very possible, that you have that on your school account, and it should let you into all of that stuff. Everything else is available on the internet at large, so you shouldn't have any issues getting into some of those things. So most of these are links. Some of them are the PDFs, but I do try to keep all of this as current as possible. So I do go in and try to check the links and make sure there's nothing that's broken. If there's something that's no longer relevant, I do try to go in and take that stuff out as it no longer becomes relevant. So there's some things to consider as you go through here. And like I said, it's really just intended to be something that is a reference for you. So, so you can take it and use it as you choose. Okay, the last thing that I want to run through with you today is this virtual learning support folder, because this is really where you're going to spend the majority of your time this year. So if you're looking at this video this year, this is what's going to count the most for you, I think. And what we've done is kind of put everything together that you need, curated the resources that are going to be most helpful for you, especially in the first part of the year as we're starting out virtual this year and hopefully shifting back to face-to-face sooner rather than later. What I've done is placed a pacing guide in there for you for a 4x4, which is not something that that you would have had previously prior to this year. There are links to those course competencies. Remember, I was telling you they've shifted it over to a PDF and they've shifted the competency numbers. And then I have some specific online resources that are going to help get you started and that are going to be most helpful when you're trying to teach from a distance. So let's go ahead and take a peek in here and see what we've got. At the very top, you'll notice there is a pacing guide, and it's set up as a 4x4. So the accounting class is typically a year-long class. And if we're on a 4x4 schedule, then the expectation would be you would finish the accounting class in a semester instead. So, oh dear, it looks like I have my advanced accounting up here. I think I probably need to just adjust that. I was working on both of them at the same time. So, but having said that, let's just take a look at this because the format is going to be the same no matter what. So what this pacing guide includes is just information for the first 9 weeks. And that is intentional. We just kind of want to focus on the beginning of the school year right now. We'll definitely push a pacing guide out for the remainder of the semester, which would cover the entire year's worth of information for this class. But essentially it all kind of looks the same. in terms of what you're going to see. So it's done by week, the topic that's covered, and these topics are going to go pretty much by what you're going to see in your regular resources. That way it should kind of align there for you. These are the suggested resources that are used, and we'll get more into that later. And then these are the competencies. So I did try to go in and adjust these, but I can't guarantee that those are all going to be aligned at this time. That said, it's something that I'm working on as I go through and make sure that we've got all of those updated as they should be. So anyway, this is kind of what you can expect as you go through, as is the topic and then the resources. You'll notice there are a couple of them in here that may be new to you: the Learn Key, the Knowledge Matters, and the BE Publishing. And those are all ones that we're going to talk about shortly. In this folder are the course competencies, and then broken out is that workplace readiness. So I do have the competencies. If you click on this, you'll notice that it's taking you to a PDF. This is what is available on the VDOE website right now, are the links to the PDF. So that's what I've provided here for you. One of the things that I did want to show you is you'll notice that it starts with task number 39. That's because the first 38 competencies are related to workplace readiness, and they've removed those. So some of them start like this, but I've noticed some of the other courses, they took them out and the task number has changed to, you know, back to that 001 for the content. So that's why I'm kind of going back course by course to make sure I have the correct competency numbers for each of these. So anyway, this is kind of what you'll see. It's the same information, but it's just not in the same format. And there are some limitations, of course, in a PDF. So usually when you're on that Verso website, you would be able to click on a competency, get a deeper understanding of what they're looking for. There might even be examples or links to suggested lessons, that kind of thing. And of course, in a PDF, you're just not going to get any of that. So it's got the basics, and we are keeping our fingers crossed that VDOE will have a working website soon. But in the meantime, like I said, August of 2020, this is what we have. So this is what I've placed in the folder for you. So those are the competencies currently as we know them. The other two items that I wanted to put in here was just a PDF that explains what the 38 competencies are. And then I wanted to place this in here, which is a link to a landing page for CTEX. And if you've taught CT classes for any length of time, you're probably familiar with CTEX, but rather than overwhelm you with a whole bunch of different information about workplace readiness and where you can go, I felt like this was probably the best way to handle this. And that was to give you a link to a page that had a bunch of different resources. So when you go to this page, there are learning modules that are in there, there are videos that are available, and then there are links to other websites that you can go to that have a wealth of additional material. And you, like I said, you may notice some of them when you get on that website, you may notice that you've used some of them before. But I did want to make sure that I set that kind of to the side. For those of you who are new to CTE and to teaching in Virginia Beach, these workplace readiness skills are kind of incorporated throughout the year. It's one of the reasons that VDOE opted to remove them from the competency list, because they're not intended to necessarily be taught, excuse me, as standalones, like entire units. It's not intended to be, you know, okay, we're going to cover these 38 competencies in these, you know, 2 or 3 units, and then we'll be done with them, and we won't talk about work ethic anymore, or, you know, or lifelong learning anymore, because we've already talked about it. So the idea is that it really is kind of woven into all of the topics because they're all of the content, excuse me, because it's all relevant. So they've set it to the side. This, I think, is going to be a good resource for you. And then you can kind of pick and choose where you want to sprinkle those in. And I think that might be a better fit. So we'll see how that goes this year. This will be the first year that we're doing that. So the rest of this down here, these red folders, these are all the resources that will help support the teaching that you're doing in this 4x4. And I started with the QuickBooks Certified User exam objectives. You can always find these elsewhere, but I felt like if I put them in here for you, you don't have to start searching for them anywhere. So inside here are a couple of different things that I think would be helpful for you. One are the exam objectives, of course, and this is what the students are going to be working toward is taking this, earning this certification. And it's a 50-minute, 50-question certification, and it comes through Cengage, or excuse me, through Certiport. So we'll be using the Compass or Console 8 to take the exam. That's what the students will take. So if you are familiar with Microsoft, or if you've done any of the IT fundamentals classes and worked with IC3, it's the same platform that we're going to use to test, because all of it's coming through Certiport, and Certiport has kind of aligned everything that they have on one of several, platforms that they offer. So anyway, the exam objectives are right down here at the bottom. And what I've done is I've put a couple of links in here that I think will be helpful for you and worth clicking on. So this first one is an overview, and it's actually going to take you to the Certiport website, which of course has a whole bunch of information. So you could be clicking around there forever looking at different things. And certainly you're welcome to do that. But I did want to at least provide some general information about why we've opted to do this. It used to be that we offered NOCTI as a first year and a second year. We offered different NOCTI exams for that. And we made this shift over to QuickBooks for a reason. So this just kind of explains what that reasoning is, why we feel like there's maybe a greater value in having the students earn a QuickBooks Certified User certification, and just a little bit about how all of that works. There is a demo on here. It's like, I think a 2-minute video. It's very, very short, and it just kind of provides an introduction. So if you're interested, I wanted to put that up there for you. I think it might be helpful, just to kind of give you an introduction. So the other thing that I would recommend that you do is to go in here and take a look at this QuickBooks video. This is it's a 5-minute video, but it highlights Miami-Dade County Public Schools, who's already incorporated QuickBooks Certified User into 20 of their high schools. So it just kind of gives you a nice example of what this looks like when it's incorporated well, and how it can impact your students and the choices that they're making about maybe future careers. And I think it's worth taking a look at, especially, it may even be something that you want to share with your students as you go through, especially as you're introducing the credential, because that may not be something that students are familiar with, that language about certifications and the value of what those are in the workplace. It's kind of like knowing that having an education is important, but maybe you're not exactly, you're not exactly sure why or how that works. This will really kind of highlight why having that certification in QuickBooks is valuable, not just in having that knowledge, but also valuable to employers. So I think that's something that's totally worth taking a look at. Okay, moving down, this is how to get started with QuickBooks. Like I said, this was something that we introduced last year, but we did not get a chance to really do anything with because we had a global pandemic that shut us down in the spring of last year. So this is something we're going to be really digging into this year. And so I wanted to make sure that you had the information you needed to get started. Now, there are two different versions of QuickBooks. There's a QuickBooks Desktop, and then there's a QuickBooks Online. What we are choosing to use is the QuickBooks Online, and the practice exams for that are available on Geometrics. So I can, we can get you started with Geometrics as well. If I haven't put that in here, that folder in here, I will make sure that I add it afterwards. But because it's a Certiport certification, like I said, everything is going to come through the same testing portal and the same practice platform. So the nice part is if you're teaching different content areas and you've got, accounting this block and you've got CIS or something like that in a different block, once you become familiar with Console 8 and Geometrics, you're good to go, you're golden, because that's pretty much where those things are gonna be housed. So this is just everything you need to get started with the QuickBooks. So it explains the registration, it gives you some introductions. There are great little, and by the way, these are not long videos. I really kind of love them. They're just a few minutes each, but it's great for that troubleshooting stuff. So the usual problems that folks run into as they're trying to get all of this set up, this is where you can go to get those questions answered. So I really do like that. And then there's a place for you to go and sample this. And this I really like because it gives you a chance to try things without breaking it. So it just kind of gives you a sample company of the QuickBooks Online. So you can go around before you ever introduce this to your students, because you're gonna be teaching them about accounting before you teach them about QuickBooks. So this lets you, gives you some time to go play around with some stuff, and it's not going to save anything, but it's also not going to break anything. So, so I do really like that. And then this just kind of gives you a general idea about how the Geometrics works, the practice tests work for QuickBooks in Geometrics. But like I said, I'll make sure I add that if I don't have that folder in here already, because that's easy enough to do. So one of the other things that is new this year is, and that we purchased, is something called Knowledge Matters. And this is something that's brand new to me. It was actually vetted by one of the other coordinators for a different content area. And it also had content for other coordinators' areas, including business, specifically accounting. So we were kind of able to piggyback on what they were ordering and get something up and running for accounting. So you'll have to let me know how this works for you. This is the first year, 2020, that we're trying this. If it's helpful, then great. Maybe it's something we can continue to incorporate, or find other things to purchase and supplement. If it's not something that works so great, then we can skip it and we'll try something different. But especially with us being virtual right now, getting started, and then also we're not sure where the year is going to take us with that, if we're going to be able to remain in the classes or not. I really thought anything else that I can do in terms of resources that allow you to connect with your students virtually, I thought that would be a good investment. So anyway, what this is, it's a video that's going to get you up and started. Now, I will tell you, this has been ordered. Right now, it is August of 2020. This has been ordered. We don't have the license information yet. So as soon as I have that, what I'll do is go back in here and add that information so you know exactly how to access the subscription that we have ordered. In the meantime, though, you can go through, if you use this link, it's going to take you through each of these so that you know exactly how to use it. And I would encourage you to do that now while you have some time. Clearly, these are not very long, so you could totally take a look at these, and you could even, go back and look at them once we have the subscription. But just so that you kind of know how this is supposed to work, and how you might be able to start incorporating it into your class. So I think that's going to be kind of cool. And like I said, I'll be looking for your feedback on that this year to see if it's something that's worth hanging on to. Additionally, one of the new things that we have ordered this year is an e-readiness bundle from BE Publishing. And I know if you've been in the business world for any length of time for a teaching business and information technology, you've probably used a BE Publishing product, whether it's a textbook or some downloadable a lot of times they've got different projects for students, and they've even got, it used to be you could order CDs to teach you how to do things like spreadsheets and stuff. So they've been around for a while. And one of the things that they have done, and in fact it launched this month in August, is this e-readiness bundle. So BE Publishing used to have a companion site to some of the materials that they sell. And what they've done now, though, is bundle all of the things that they sell into one site with one subscription. And I was really excited to see this. I'm again excited to see where this takes us this year and whether or not it's something that is useful. But essentially with this e-readiness website that BE Publishing has, we have access to all of the titles that they offer. So for anything, whether from middle school all the way to the high school classes, there's lots of different things that you could be using. So I felt like for a single subscription price, to be able to get you access to instructor materials, to student materials, to downloadables, to every title basically that they offer, I felt like that was absolutely worth the investment, and definitely something that I wanted to offer for you guys as well. So that's why you see this in here. Typically, we probably wouldn't do something from BE Publishing for accounting because it's probably on the lighter side in terms of the depth of content. But since it's in here and it's one of the titles that BE Publishing offers, I wanted to make sure that you knew about it so that you could go in there and see if there's something that you want to, that you want to use. I will say that the subjects are, it's not consistent in what is offered for each of these. So it's not like they have a template that says, okay, it's going to have a video and lesson plans and questions and whatever, and this is how it works. Each of them has something a little bit different. But like I said, the accounting was in there and I wanted to make sure that I offered that to you. Now, what you're looking at right now is the information on how to test this out. So we have ordered it. It is in the works, but much like Knowledge Matters, we're just waiting for that subscription to be filled. So in the meantime, like I said, this is being recorded in August of 2020. So in the meantime, if you want to test drive the e-readiness bundle, and basically it gives you almost access to almost everything that you would have with the subscription, you can go ahead and do that. And I have the link right down here for you to click on so that you can go through. And that's good through the end of the month of August. Once we have our subscription, I'll pull this out and I'll go back and plug it into, plug our subscription information into that. And by the way, I know I did not mention this before, but the e-readiness is something that I've asked to be added to our class links. So something that may be of interest to you and we'll be doing some training on later. It's still something that we're rolling out. Again, it's kind of early, but we are virtualizing computers for CTE courses so that our students who are on Chromebooks will have access to a Windows desktop. So I'll be able to share more about that with you later. We will have a training on that once we have everything rolled out. We're almost there. We're just kind of working out some of the kinks and making sure that everything is operating and all of the software is loaded onto the virtual desktop that needs to be there. So we're just kind of getting all of that stuff worked out and then testing it. So once we're done with that process, we'll be able to roll this out. Our goal is to have that ready for you to look at really by the start of school and ready to roll out to the students within the first few weeks. So that's kind of the idea there. Anyway, having said that, ClassLinks, of course, is also something that's new this year. We used to have everything on the Clever platform, which was a great single sign-on portal. Every school website had it, so all you had to do is go there and grab things from multiple classes. It automatically recognizes you as an educator. It ties your students to you, so it's very easy to populate classes using whatever software application or website you have a subscription to. So that's how Clever worked. That is also how ClassLinks will work, and you'll get more information about how that runs from your ITS. So I think the training for that is coming from within your site. It won't come from us because it's a division-wide effort. But what I have done is put in requests to ensure that the things that were on our Clever site for our business classes are now on the ClassLink site. And then anything new that we have, like this e-readiness bundle, I wanted to make sure that that was on there as well. I'll tell you too, the access to the virtual desktops are also going to go through ClassLinks. So the more we can simplify this, and simplify your life, that's what we're going to try to do, make your life a little bit easier. So just so you kind of know, there's a little bit of insight on that. One of the things that I ordered for the QuickBooks, and this is kind of to supplement a shift that happened last year when the My Accounting Lab material that we were using is no longer being offered. So as we were looking at some things that we wanted to do and we decided to make this shift over to QuickBooks, one of the things that I purchased for accounting was LearnKey courseware. So this is tied specifically to accounting. It definitely incorporates QuickBooks, and you do have a license. If you are at a school that is teaching accounting this year, then you should see a license for LearnKey courseware available in your Geometrics account. You should have access to that. If you do not, then send me an email and we'll get that organized, because I know sometimes things change over the summer and folks need some help with that. So we can absolutely do that. The LearnKey courseware it's an additional supplement to the practice tests and the projects for QuickBooks that are also available on Geometrics. So LearnKey is in addition to that. It's got lessons, it has videos, it's got projects, it's got all kinds of stuff on there. So really this is intended to supplement the teaching that you're doing. And then, while it is run through Geometrics, when you're ready, you can also go back to that same Geometrics platform and have the students do their practice exams, which are for QuickBooks, which are also available in there. It's because it is a Certiport product that everything is kind of running through these platforms. And Certiport has spent several years kind of trying to shift everything over to one of several platforms, and Geometrics is really kind of the hub for all of their practice kind of things. So when they've got courseware like this, they if they can run it through one of those platforms, they do. And of course with the LearnKey, they did as well. So like I said, that's in there. There's all kinds of good stuff, including how to get started. So I tried to link everything that I could and share with you some screenshots of stuff that I thought would be helpful for you. And then I also put some information down here at the bottom. Not that you don't already have a million things to do, but Geometrics does host a weekly webinar to help you get started. So if you're putting things together and you are struggling and I'm not able to give you the answers that you need, you do have options. One is to reach out to the support, and I've got their phone numbers and their emails. There's technical support for Geometrics. They are typically very responsive. So I don't usually have to wait even 24 hours before I get something remedied anytime I've had to call. So they are really good. But then also to have that open weekly webinar to go over basics of how to get started. I put the link there as well, because I think that's something that might be helpful as you're kind of getting through that, and maybe you run into something, and because it's new for all of us, maybe none of us have figured out how to resolve it, that would be a really great place to go. So, okay, so all of that is in your virtual learning support folder. And like I said, that's really probably where you're gonna live for the fall of 2020. And as things continue to evolve, I'll make sure that there are additional updates that are put in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing here. That's about everything that I've got for you. I thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great year.